Steve Moore joins me now. I want to talk about his new study. That study found there's a wide gap between the 1% and how they see things and how the rest of America sees things. You characterize the elites as out of touch. OK, yeah. I want an example.
So, by the way, just what Ed Lawrence was talking about is a perfect example of our study. Here you've got these union bosses who are telling, oh, we're going to endorse Biden, whereas the vast majority of union, blue-collar unions people vote for Donald Trump. We know that from 2016 and 2020. So it's an example of how out of touch some of these leaders are. What we looked, by the way, the top 1%, we're defining that a little bit differently. It's not top 1% in income. It's the cultural elite. So the people who went to Ivy League colleges, the people who have a postgraduate degree, people who live in urban areas, not rural areas, that kind of thing, and people of high income. And they're so out of touch with what real kind of Main Street Americans believe. It's almost like they're talking about two different countries. So I'll give you a couple of concrete examples. And I'll ask you guys, in America today, do you think David, do you think there's too much freedom or too much government control?
Oh, I think there's too much government control.
Well, that's what 75% of Americans believe. There's too much government control. These elites, half of them think there's too much freedom in America. Yeah. Too much freedom. What kind of crazy person thinks there's too much freedom?
Give me another one.
Give you a couple other examples. Who do you think should have most control of the schools? Should it be parents or should it be the teachers' unions? Well, most Americans think, yeah, parents should have control of schools. No, the majority of these elite say it should be the teachers' unions who run the school. How much are you willing to pay to fight climate change? The average American says maybe $50 a year.
Is that really what they said?
About $50 is the median answer. For these elite, whatever it takes, thousands and thousands of dollars per American. Oh, and my favorite one. Do you guys think that the government should ban air conditioning?
No.
Do you think that the government should ban discretionary air travel?
No.
Do you think they should ban gas stoves?
No.
The majority of these elites say, yes, we should ban all these. And
no,
SUVs. SUVs. They want to ban it. So
who did you talk to for this? I know a few.
I was undecided until you went after my air conditioning.
Exactly. No, I mean, and the thing is about these kind of policies. So, for example, with the schools, most of these elites don't even send their kids to the public schools. Right. So they don't care what's going on in the public schools. Oh, and one other one, and one final one, because this is right in your strike zone. How do you feel? Has Biden been good for your finances? 70% of Americans say no, but 75% of these elites say yes. So it's a Grand Canyon chasm between these two groups of people.
You got to come back soon and tell us more about this, because that's a very interesting study. It shows how politics has changed. You know, the ordinary folks are now Republican.
Exactly. And
the elites are Democrats.
That was very clear from what happened in the last two elections. Trump won the middle-class voters. The ones he lost was the wealthy suburbanites and the lower-income people. So we'll see if Trump can win again.
I just real quickly want to say, I think one of the things that's created that division is the cultural issues, a lot of this transgender stuff and the critical race theory. Those are the things dividing the cultural elites from regular Americans. It's not economic anymore.
Yeah, and you see that too, that the issues like climate change, LGBTQ, those are the issues of the wealthy elite. Most Americans, you know what they care about? Putting food on the table, making sure they can pay their bills.
And their air conditioning.
Come back.